Hey David, I'm sorry it took me so long to get back to you with my testimony. I wanted to I'll share the kind of like the quicker version real quick for you. Sorry it took me so long. Just been super busy. But basically, I got saved when I was 18 years old. Um, I came from a really troubled childhood, a really difficult childhood. A lot of things that should never happen to a kid happened to me growing up, and came from a broken family. So just had all the odds stacked against me early on. And by the time I was 13, I was already doing drugs and drinking regularly. By the time I was 16, I dropped out of school, ran away from home. I was living basically house to house on the streets and selling drugs and just spending every day getting high and basically living an unsober life. And I was during that period of time, I had made close friends with this guy, and we ran drugs together and sold drugs together and did drugs together all the time. And he was the only guy that like I really trusted in that world that I lived in at the time. And sometimes he would make these random comments to me, which made no sense at the time. And we'd be cutting out some lines of meth or something he would look at me right in the middle of it, and he would just say something random like, "Hey man, my mom's close to God," and I'd be like, "What? That makes no sense. If God's real, I'm the Antichrist." I literally said that to him, and I was like, I would just be like, man, just shut up and let's do these lines and go pick up these girls and go do our party thing, whatever. But there was something about what he said that bothered me because he was always honest, which was really weird living in that life. Nobody is ever honest all the time, but my friend, I never really ever caught him in a lie. And so it really kind of like caught me a little bit, captivated me a little bit as to how someone could be close to God. And then later on, he ended up getting a girl pregnant. And he came to me and was like, "Hey man, I've got to clean up. I got to stop doing these drugs. I got to actually get a real job. I got a baby on the way now, and trying to, it's time for me to grow up." And I'm like, "Oh, okay," thinking, "Yeah, right," like you're gonna really change. So he told me he was going to get a job at this place in the town where we did most of our business and lived near. And I knew that job required him to get a drug test. And I was like, "Dude, you're not going to get that job. You got to pass a drug test, whatever." Well, he came back like about a week or so later and he's like, "Man, I got the job." And I'm like, "What? Like, how did you get the job?" And he's like, "Well, the other day, I went down and applied and I got hired." And I was like, "Well," and I'm thinking like, "Well, what about the drug test?" And he's like, "Well, I went and I told my mom about everything that I was doing, and she prayed for me. She laid hands on me and prayed for me and told me now I could go take the drug test." And I went and took the drug test and I passed. And I'm like, "What? That doesn't make any sense." So basically I decided I'm going to go and apply and I'm going to get a job there too, because this must not be that hard. So I went and I applied. I took the drug test twice, and both times I failed. Both times I tried to alter it chemically, and they still found every drug under the sun. The first one, yeah. Anyway, I just failed. So that really kind of caught my attention. Like, how did he do that? But I just continued on with my life. Especially with the methamphetamines, they were probably my worst of all the addictions, and at the time. And Easter morning, 1998 came around. At this time, I was 18, so I'd been on the streets running, scamming people, selling drugs for like a couple years on my own. And And that day was Easter morning, and I went out to my grandfather's house to take a shower so I could go back out to party the next night. I went there because he was in the hospital and he couldn't really kick me out again. He'd already kicked me out for drugs and lying and manipulating and all the other things I was doing. And so on my way to his house to go take a shower, my mind had just been racing, like literally all night the night before, even about like, what's my purpose in life? Why am I here? How did humans come into existence? I mean, everything that you could think of to try to figure out how we even, exist, or why we're here as people, and me. And I finally get to the house, and I had a few key thoughts that hit me. The first thought that really hit me was, everybody in your life, in my life at that time, they were my friend either because they wanted something from me or I wanted something from them. There was no other reason. And most of it all centered around the drugs. And I thought, how is it that somebody could say, I love you, but what they really mean is, I love you this much, but if you go this far, I'm not going to love you anymore. So it was all conditional love. There was nothing that I knew other than conditional love. And then the other thought that really hit me was, all my life, all I ever really wanted was someone for me to love and for them to love me back. And it was that thought that really led me into what the reality of my state, my real state of life. And that was the fact that I realized, you know what? I don't know what love is. I'm in the shower at this point when that thought really hits me like a rock. It goes right through me like a sword, right through my heart. And just put me in an instant moment of desperation. I don't know what love is. And I didn't know if God was real. I didn't know what God I was crying out to or anything. I had no idea, but I dropped to my knees on that shower floor and I said, God, please help me to love. And I meant it with all my heart. And as soon as I said that, a man named Jesus appeared right beside me, literally stood right beside me in the shower while I'm on my knees. And he said, it's me, I'm Jesus, I'm here, and I love you. And when he said that, in that very moment, my life flashed before me. Like a moment it was there and a moment it was gone. And I saw it for what it was. And I just began to cry and ask for forgiveness. I didn't know why. I didn't understand what was going on. I had no grid for what was happening to me. But as I'm crying there on the shower floor, Jesus started reaching down over top of me and lifting up off of me like all this invisible weight that was on me that I didn't even know it was there. I had no idea that it was there until it was gone. And it was like he was pulling up off of me the weight of sin in the world and like guilt, shame, condemnation, all these things. He just started, it's like all this stuff he was picking up off of me, and I got lighter and lighter and lighter. And after a very long time of crying, I finally got up, and Jesus was standing there, and I looked at him, and he looked at me, and he said it again, and he said, it's me, I'm Jesus, I'm here, and I love you. And I remember like thinking, what is going on? How are you here? And all I could think of at that moment was, that's the guy that's hanging on the cross at that Catholic church my dad took me to, And I walk over to the mirror while all this is happening, and I looked in the mirror, and for the first time in my life, when I saw my reflection, I actually loved the guy that I was seeing in that reflection. And I knew inside of me, I somehow knew that I was seeing me through the eyes of Jesus, who was standing there. And he was showing me how he sees me. And it was like he was looking at me through myself, and I knew it. And then this voice that came like right over top of me, this loving, fatherly, amazing, powerful voice just spoke right over me and said, I love you so much, Joshua. You're so special to me. And as soon as he said that, this love and joy like I never felt before in my life flooded my entire being. I thought, honestly, like, I'm going to blow up. My body cannot contain the love and joy that I'm experiencing right now. And I'm looking at myself in the mirror, and in my reflection now, I'm laughing hysterically with tears of joy running down my face. And in the back of my head, I'm thinking, this only happens in the movies, and here I am. This is happening, you know, and there's Jesus, and there's this joy and this love like I never felt before. And I didn't understand it. I didn't know. All I knew is that that's what was happening to me. And that day I felt so different. I felt so turned on to God. I wanted to suddenly know him, but then at the same time, I was so scared of the fact that he was real. And that meant my life was going to be accountable to him someday. And I did not know what that meant for me, because I was a bad person. I didn't have any other understanding than that. Just that God is real and his name's Jesus and he loves me and he is love. And I really want to know that part of him more. Anyway, I remember not long after that, we went to a meth lab and we were waiting for some stuff to get, so our batch of meth to be cooked. And the guys that were there, they were pretty dangerous guys. I didn't trust them. They were shady. And probably not the safest people. And I remember kind of wanting to stay to myself. So my friend and them, they all sat down and played spades, but I just sat over and played a video game. And I was sitting there playing this racing game, and just sweat kind of running down, and I'm tweaked out. I'm still wondering in the back of my head, like, what happened? Who is this? Jesus, what happened to me? You know, and then all of a sudden, the whole trailer that I was in looked like it was in flames. And there was this dark essence of just hell all around me. And then that same loving fatherly voice came out of nowhere in the middle of that trailer. And I heard him say, you're never going to know me the way your heart desires to know me now if you stay here. And like, he could have just said that and then just left me there and maybe just said, good luck, you know, I hope you find a good AA program. But actually, I had enough sense to get up in that moment and walk out of the trailer, because I'm like, looks like it's in flames and it's not burning down. So I stepped out of the trailer, and as soon as I put my foot on the driveway, that gravel driveway where my car was parked, I was instantly sober, just like that. The meth, all the effects of the meth completely just left me. The desire and addiction completely just left me. I was completely set free. I got my car and I left, and I never turned back to really, I never desired that drug ever again. And after that, I ended up going to my friend's mom's house, I was told was close to God, right? And so I went and I told her, I said, hey, this is what's happened. And I was in the shower and I said, God, please help me to love. And this man named Jesus showed up and he said, it's me, I'm Jesus, I'm here, and I love you. And all these things happened. And then and I'm telling her the story, and she's just crying and crying. And I finally, I'm like, why are you crying? Did I say something to offend you? You know, did I hurt your feelings? What's the matter? And she said, no, you don't understand. And I'm like, well, I'm kind of afraid because God's real, you know? And I'm like, well, what do I not understand? And she looks at me with tears in her eyes and she says, you've been born again. And I'm like, well, what does that mean? I don't know what that means. And she opened up the Bible and she showed me in Matthew where Jesus told Nicodemus, lest a man is born again, he'll never enter the kingdom of heaven. And that was the first introduction that I actually had of the Bible and how it was even a guide for the Christian to know how to decide what's God and what isn't in life and what he wants and his will for us. So I ended up moving in with my friend's family, his parents, and staying in my friend's old bedroom. And I I ended up reading the Bible like every day and fasting and praying and seeking. And as soon as I learned about fasting in the Bible, like within a few days of reading Matthew, I'm like, dude, I need to fast, and all these different things. Like, I'm just praying and seeking God, and I'm having these amazing encounters with the Holy Spirit. And I'm learning about spiritual warfare, and I'm learning about, how to deal with all these things that I'm seeing, which was literally seeing like demons, like manifesting in my visual, like seeing them following me around and saying things. It was like wild. It was a crazy time, and the enemy was really coming at me. And basically, during that period of time, I started operating in the gifts of the Spirit. I started having dreams, prophetic dreams. I started walking drunk in the Spirit, like all day long, like just drunk with the presence of Jesus and just loving people and just having such a joy, and not that I didn't also have a lot of spiritual attacks that were very, very serious. But after a long time of that, I ended up having a dream, and in this dream, there was a wicker basket, and inside this wicker basket was the most clearest, purest, most beautiful, lightest water I'd ever seen in my life, and it wasn't coming out of the weaves of the wicker basket. And I picked up that wicker basket and I drank it. And then I woke up immediately in my dream because I knew it was from God. It was another one of those God dreams. And I was always freaked out because I'm like, what does it mean? What does it mean? Because I was very scared of God. I was very scared of him because I did not have the greatest father figure growing up from my stepdad. And so I was afraid that, I was going to get hurt, or, I didn't know what would happen. So I didn't realize until later that God was showing me that I was getting ready to receive the baptism of the Holy Spirit. So I ended up meeting a man who knew God very well and knew the scriptures very, very well. And I went through I went over to his house through a series of miraculous events of even getting connected with him through a Christian bookstore and a lady I just randomly ran into there in another city in Missouri. And she gave me this man's phone number. And I went to his house, and everything in me wanted to get up and run out the house, but I knew I needed I knew I needed God, and God was sending me there. I got delivered that night from a bunch of demonic spirits, and I got baptized in the Holy Ghost and with the evidence of praying in tongues for the first time. And that was within the first 6 months of being Christian. I don't even think it was that long. It was like within the first 3 months. I don't know. Time escapes me on how much had gone by at that time period. And then after that, or during that time also, I should say, right before that, I had to beg, but I was able to move back home with my family. And my mom said, okay, I'll let you live with us as long as you get your GD and join the military. But you need to hurry up and get it done and get out, right? Because I'd already burned my bridge. I'd really messed up every bridge I had with my family, everybody. So whenever I moved in with her, God had already told me, I want you to go back to high school. I want you to pay off the vehicle issue that I had with my uncle. And I want you to, and he told me I needed to get a job, right? So I got the job. I paid off what I owed my uncle. And I moved back home with my family to go back to, he told me to go back to high school or go back to move my family. So he made a way for me to move back home with my family. He made a way for me to pay all the stuff I owed my uncle back. And he made a way for me to go back to school. Because by the end of that summer, my mom said, I'll let you go back to high school. And that's because she just wasn't afraid anymore that I was going to embarrass her in front of our community again. So I went back to high school. During that high school year, my mother got saved and gave her life to Jesus. I started a thing called a prayer at the flagpole. It wasn't something that I started. I just started doing it at my school. It was something I'd heard about that I could do to be pro-evangelistic with people in my high school. Some of the people in my high school ended up getting saved and giving their lives to Jesus. so that was kind of like the big part of my early Christian walk that kind of put me on this whole meeting Jesus and putting me on this whole new trajectory for my life, where my dad ended up getting saved right after I graduated high school. Many amazing things happened, but that everyone expected me before I came to Jesus. No one expected me to go anywhere but dead in a gutter or to prison. By the time I was 15, I'd already been arrested. 16, I'd already been arrested twice. So I just, Jesus completely saved my life, completely changed me, and I got to meet him. And later on, years later, I was walking into a Christian bookstore, and this is just an added tidbit. It's not, I don't usually share this with people, but I was walking into a Christian bookstore. This would have been back in 2012, and maybe 2011. I think it was 2012. And I saw a picture of Jesus that I'd never seen before. And I looked at it, and I'm like, and I couldn't stop looking at it. And I was with a friend of mine. We were getting ready to go to Bible college together. We were getting ready to start our first year. I stepped away, I walked away, and then I turned around and I came back to that painting, and I looked at it again, and I'm like, Jeremiah, that's Jesus. I'm telling my friend Jeremiah, I was like, dude, that's Jesus in that painting. That's really him. That's actually him. Like, whoever painted this saw him. And he goes, do you know anything about that painting? And I was like, no, I've never seen this painting before. And he's like, well, that painting was painted by a 6-year-old girl named Akiana or something like that. And she painted it after meeting him. And she was a Russian girl, and her family, I guess, all got saved. And she's been painting ever since. But she painted that painting of Jesus when she was 6 years old. And I was like, well, she met him, because that's him. That's what he looks like. That's the closest thing I've ever seen to what Jesus looks like ever. But anyway, at least when he appeared to me. Now we see John the Baptist, he appeared another way, so. But anyway, not to get into, semantics, but that's my testimony. That's how I got saved. And there's a lot more to it, but I tried to keep it short. So many things God did to draw me to finally meet him, personally meet him and give my life to him. And so many things he's done thereafter. But anyway, I hope this blesses you. Maybe it'll encourage you, and thank you for all the testimonies that you share on Marco Polo. When I do get a chance to listen to them, they're always wonderful, and I love them. Anyway, bless you, man. Have a good day.